Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Pioneer Preps. And this prep is all going to be about this guy, a fire brick as I call it, or sometimes known as a fire puck. I saw this idea from tiny house listings and I wanted to share it with you all and then add in my own discoveries and techniques to take ordinary junk mail trash and to make it something useful for your fireplace or fire pit or even your wood burning stove. So let me show you all that you're going to need to make this a reality. All that you will need to do this Pioneer prep are 2 5-gallon buckets, a 5-gallon paint mixer, your power drill of choice, and then all the wonderful junk mail that you get every day. And then of course, some water. One bucket you will leave completely intact. The other bucket you'll drill many holes into. I did about, I think, a 1/4 inch drill bit on this, and as you can see it goes not quite up to this lip, that's important, about an inch down from that, and then all the way down to about an inch to the rim on the bottom, and then there's a whole bunch of holes underneath. Alright, now take the bucket that you've drilled all the holes into, put into the bucket with no holes, like so, and then just start taking all that junk mail and placing it in the bucket. One thing I will say is that if you crumble it up, keep the paper from being flat against each other. It'll make it easier for you to blend it, mulch it all up later on. Once you fill it up, just add water. Fill the bucket up enough so the paper is fully submerged so it gets fully soaked. The one tricky part right here is knowing how much material to put in there. I will put my hand in here sometimes and feel how much material is in there and if I need to put more in, because mind you, here's a tip, there's a gap right here. It's about, I would say a 2-3 inch gap between the bottom of the holy bucket and the bottom of the solid bucket. And that's just water, so when you flip these and compress, you want to make sure that you have material to actually compress into. So this will be a little bit of trial and error for you. It still is for me. But now, we just let this soak. Now I've let the paper soak for about 24 hours. You don't have to do this if you want, but I like to because it makes the paper very delicate and easier to blend, which is coming up next. Now to shred up all the wet paper, I decided to use a standard 5-gallon bucket paint mixer. I'm using a metal one because of its strength, and also it gives you the ability to weld additional metal to it if you wanted, so you could shred the paper up easier. Now, most people don't have access to a shredder, so I decided to cut little teeth all along the rim with a Dremel to aid in that endeavor. Put it into your drill of choice. Just make sure you have it on the lower setting, more torque, because you're going to want torque, not speed for this. Once you blend it up thoroughly, pull the first bucket out of the second bucket, stick something over top, and then just let it drain into the second bucket. That way you're conserving water for your next fire puck. Now it is all mulched up and ready to be compressed. All you do to compress it is take bucket number 2 that has all of your water that you saved and stick it right into bucket 1. And you can sit on this, put some weights. I like to take a big old potted plant that I have sitting here and just sit on right on top, add a little weight of my own. As you can see, all that extra water is coming out, and I will leave this sit here for quite a while to get a full compression, where actually this will eventually meet this. So it'll take a little bit of time, but sit back and just let it compress. Now it's compressed, and one of the easier ways that I've found to be able to get this out is by picking it up, putting it outside, and kind of just rolling it and pressing into the bucket. And by doing so, you're then able to turn the bucket upside down with your hand in it, and then the puck will normally just come right out. And now you have your compressed puck. Now you can let it dry as is in this form, and then maybe cut it when it's drier. But what I like to do is just take a saw, or you can use anything sharp. Just kind of, I like to just put it right down the middle, and you're not really sawing per se, you're just kind of pushing it through and separating the two halves. And then I take these two halves, and then I will then mold them with my hands into what I call, I guess, bricks, which will be easier to put into your fireplace, as well as possibly, depending on the size of it, your wood burning stove. And then when you get them basically uniform, you can let them dry outside, or you can bring them inside and put them up on a drying rack, which I'll show you next. Alright, so here is the drying rack. Very simple. It's just a bunch of pieces of scrap wood that I've cut to length, and then by putting them down first and then using the bricks, you can just kind of stack them on top of each other. Plenty of air circulating around that, and then actually it's by the fireplace, so actually the radiant heat will help with drying them out. So here is one that's been sitting for a while, and it is pretty solid and ready to burn. Alright, so I have a little fire going behind me in the fireplace. I want it to be known that these are not really good at starting a fire because they really just like to smolder. Some people have put wax on it, have experience with that to seal them, but also to extend it, but I would consider these very good at like fire extending. So nice little flame going there. I'm just going to stick that so it can just start doing its thing and smoldering and creating a nice bed of coals. Well, now that I have the fire bricks burning very nicely behind me, I hope you can see the benefits of this very inexpensive and easy to do prep that you can do at home with all that junk mail that's given to you on a daily basis. Because not everybody is going to have access to woods in their backyard. Now you do. For my bug out friends out there, think of it this way. Make these at home, and then take them out to different secret caches that you have. So once you get there, you have readily available fire fuel for your new base camp. One bit of caution that I will give you, because of the inks, because of the glues, do not cook over the open flame. So no hot dogs in the flame with this one. You're going to have to use a wood burning stove or a hobo stove or just some sort of barrier from your food from the flame. Other than that, you're good to go. I hope you enjoyed this Pioneer prep. If you have, please do subscribe. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please do leave them below. I love to hear them, and I love to get back to you and see how we can make these suckers even better. Thanks for joining me.